Story 1. How do they navigate conversations? Do they allow others to speak? Are they frequently interrupting? Is the conversation consistently directed back to them? I find all these behaviors indicative of someone who is very narcissistic. Story 2. If they make insensitive jokes the first time we meet, they feel so comfortable despite barely knowing me. Story 3. Smell, behavior towards others, particularly strangers or people serving them, outbursts, and lack of self-control. Blind obedience. Story 4. How they treat animals shows their character. If they don't return their shopping trolley, or if they fail to signal at roundabouts, it reflects a lack of consideration. The failure to indicate really frustrates me. It's like they are unwilling to make the effort. Story 5. Face tattoos. I don't judge people based on whether they are good or bad. Instead, I consider them impulsive. Story 6. When they use a lot of buzzwords and cliches, I know everyone does this sometimes. However, when their entire vocabulary resembles a TikTok video or BuzzFeed article, I become a bit irritated in my thoughts. Story 7. If they are nice to you to your face but talk about you behind your back, do not be a coward. Say it to my face. Story 8. How parents treat their children, especially young toddlers, often involves expecting them to act mature and emotionally regulated, even when the parents themselves may lose control at any moment. Story 9. How they treat medical staff and behave in situations with significant waiting times. Story 10. Driving recklessly with excessive speeding, tailgating, and a lack of signaling shows a clear disregard for others. It's evident that you prioritize your own interests over the safety of those around you. Story 11. Multiple needle marks on their arms. Heroin addicts will take anything that is not secured. Story 12. People who intentionally do not use their blinker. Those artificial, thick, long eyelashes are even worse when combined with ultra-long artificial nails. Story 13. This morning, while driving, I saw a man walking down the sidewalk with his pants around his knees. I am not exaggerating. He was shuffling as if he had just used the bathroom and pulled up his underwear but forgot his pants. I judged him immediately. Story 14. When they judge someone at first, I met a girl who would point and laugh at random people she didn't know. It is safe to say we weren't friends long after that. Story 15. How they treat service workers and how they treat people they perceive as less than themselves, as well as if they are two-faced and have been proven to be so. Story 16. Loud phone conversations in public involve people shouting into their earbuds or, even worse, holding their phones on speakerphone, forcing everyone to listen to their conversation. Perhaps it's because I'm older and recall a time before all of this. Story 17. When my husband, who is Muslim, told me he was involved with around 100 escorts during his university years, he told me after we got married. I lost all respect for him. Story 18. Manners matter. A handshake should be firm, not slimy or salty. I'm not interested. No deal. Story 19. How they treat service workers is important. If you are rude to a waiter or cashier for no reason, I am judging you harshly. Story 20. No matter how hard I try, I can't help but see someone in a Make America Great Again hat and automatically look for their lobotomy scars. A person who is nice and respectful to you but is not nice and respectful to a waiter is not a truly nice and respectful person. Story 21. Smoking cigarettes or marijuana has an unpleasant odor. I don't care what you're going through. The smell is noticeable when you smoke. I usually don't say anything, but when I detect the smell, I often make a disgusted face. Story 22. If you cannot talk without flooding your sentences with like, or starting many of your responses with, I am already forming a negative opinion of you. Story 23. When people become very annoyed with workers who are on their first day on the job, they should relax. These individuals are just beginning to learn. Have patience. Story 24. Why are there so many small things that I don't even think about? I can be judgmental and am really trying to get a better handle on it. Fortunately, with time, my level of not caring is helping, but I still need to work on improving that character trait. Story 25. People who are rude to staff or to others in general. People who enter the metro car before other passengers have exited. People who litter. People who speak loudly on the phone in public places. People who walk very slowly in the middle of a busy sidewalk as if they were alone. People who do not move to the side when others are coming from the opposite direction and who walk next to each other on the sidewalk. People who do not use turn signals. People who drive in the left lane below the speed limit. People who think it is acceptable to have unpleasant odors early in the morning on public transportation. People who do not wash their hands after using the restroom. People who leave their shopping carts wherever they please. Story 26. Anyone who casually says hateful things should recognize that it is a serious matter. Kindness is free. Story 27. Using speakerphone or playing videos and music loudly in public makes me think, there's another person who should leave. Story 28. Watching someone pull into a parent and child parking spot without a child is frustrating. I have started calling people out on it. Story 29. When they make a judgment about me, it can be someone who knows me well or someone who hardly knows me. I tend to be judgmental when I feel judged. Story 30. Taking out anger on the wrong person, such as expressing frustration at a cashier due to an unchangeable store policy or yelling at a waiter who is unable to fulfill specific requests, is unproductive. Story 31. Littering shows a lack of respect for people, animals, and the environment. I can no longer view individuals the same way after witnessing such behavior. Story 32. When they drive a Dodge Ram, it's not that it's necessarily anything specific, but I can usually narrow things down to a few possible traits. Story 33. When someone boasts about being genuine but spends all their time gossiping and undermining others. Story 34. Telling jokes that nobody laughs at while thinking they are the newcomer comedian of the year because they do not realize they are the exact opposite. You are not funny. Just be quiet. Story 35. There is a typical bratty accent that I despise with every fiber of my being, and yes, I will judge you for using it. Story 36. How easily they give up intimate personal details about their partner, relationship, and children to make conversation. I don't need to know or care to know this much about them, and I bet they wouldn't like you sharing this information with others. Story 37. Being a negative person. The rude, inconsiderate, self-absorbed individuals who enter the world and spread their toxic energy. Story 38. They almost instantly ask what my job is when meeting me. What I do for money isn't really that relevant outside of a work environment, so I'm sure these people do it to assess social status. I am a bioinformatics engineer. Story 39. Lack of politeness. If you are a rude person who does not consider how you affect others, we cannot be friends. Story 40. When there is a blatant disregard for shared community property, such as not returning weights at the gym or littering on a public street. Story 41. This may sound negative, but anyone discussing their personal religion or political beliefs, regardless of whether I agree or not, should be respected. Story 42. Realistically speaking, we judge all the time, but not everything is negative. I tend to become most opinionated when people speak poorly about others who are not present or when they criticize others for actions they themselves engage in, which is hypocritical behavior. Story 43. It is a painful, tangible sensation that permeates my entire body, accompanied by extremely negative emotions in their presence. Story 44. Their teeth are exceptionally large and pure white. Obviously, they have money for dental caps. Story 45. They are consistently negative, whether it is through constant complaints about their lives due to untreated depression or dissatisfaction with others. Story 46. How they treat fast food workers, retail workers, and others is important. If they treat them with as much respect as they would a lawyer or a doctor, they are good people. However, if they look down on them for their job, they lack good character. Story 47. The statement, "I am not racist, but," reflects how individuals treat others in service roles and how they speak about them. Story 48. If they repeatedly declare and emphasize their positive traits when you barely know them, such as claiming, "I am an empath," or "I am supportive of women," they are often the exact opposite of what they are asserting. They are likely saying this to create a better impression of themselves, as no one else associates those labels with them. Story 49. When a full bus is occupied, middle-aged individuals without disabilities are sitting in front of elderly or disabled individuals who are standing. Story 50. Men wearing pants and flip-flops. Are you cold or not? Why do I still have to look at your bare feet if you're cold enough to wear pants? Story 51. When they start talking down to others when they are displeased, it reveals a lot about their character. Story 52. If they talk about people behind their backs frequently but act as if they do not, it makes you wonder what they say about you when you are not around. Story 53. When they push politics on me, asking for my opinion and trying to change it if I do not outright agree with them, it raises concerns. A good friend started discussing the negative actions of Donald Trump, so I asked him what he thinks is one good thing he is doing. He said he could not think of anything. This raised a huge red flag and showed how indoctrinated he is. I always look for the good in both sides, and his inability to provide an answer indicates he is being disingenuous when discussing politics and social issues. It makes me think he approaches other aspects of his life in the same way, which is a bad and dangerous mindset. Story 54. Transphobia, like any form of bigotry, is particularly disturbing to me because many of my close friends have suffered for being transgender. Story 55. Loud music on the beach. It would be nice to hear the waves and nature and just relax. Instead, we have to listen to your country music. I'm judging you. Story 56. The rich bimbo look. I can't help it. To me, it looks desperate, fake, trying too hard, and ugly in an attempt to look pretty. Conveys a difficult personality. Slutty, cheap, and lacking intelligence. I just don't think that cool, smart women present themselves in this way. I also include the whole Real Housewives aesthetic, with the blonde ringlets, high heels, and exaggerated lashes. Just my opinion. I know I'll face criticism for it. Story 57. I will judge you if you fart near me, and you just laugh about it or don't apologize. At least try to hold it in. Of course, I'm getting downvoted. Typical Reddit users. Story 58. If your clothes are revealing, I will look at you. That's just how I am. I'm not judging, but you must want attention. It may seem strange, but I find myself drawn to your exposed body. You're welcome. Story 59. How they look is important. Funny clothes, tattoos, piercings, and colored hair can create certain impressions. I wouldn't judge based solely on appearances, but I would consider aspects that are within their control, such as those mentioned. Next, I assess their class, accent, nationality, and to some extent their career. After considering these factors, I would need to delve deeper to form a stronger foundation for my assumptions and initial judgments. Generally speaking, with practice, at least 50% of those judgments tend to be correct. The other 50% can be inaccurate or completely wrong, as life throws unexpected circumstances our way. Story 60. Ableism. Entitled individuals. Parents who still spank their children. Men in dresses entering the bathroom I take my 4-year-old daughter into. Story 61. I am criticized for not being vegan due to my indigenous practices. It's not my fault that your ancestors brought capitalism here. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.